Time for another coffee with Kilroy, or what I sometimes call beverage in a book. My beverage, well, I think you know what that is. And today, my book is A Military History and Atlas of the Napoleonic Wars. This is with Brigadier General Vincent J. Esposito and Colonel John R. Elting. And this, I've covered this book, or at least used this book in some of my other videos. I think I pulled stuff from this when I was doing the Battle of Leipzig, when I did Leipzig Week a while back, and use this kind of as a resource. And recently I did some videos on some other atlas dealing with some maps and atlases from the American Battlefield Trust, which were dealing with the American Civil War, and got a decent reception from people following that. So I thought I would, maybe do more atlases, and so I'll probably even create a playlist down below in probably put it in the gaming community or the community section of my playlist, and I'll start putting some atlases on there and maybe do some more of these, because I have several for a couple reasons. One, I've always been interested in maps, and one of my degrees is in geography, so maps have always been somewhat of an interest and a passion, and something that I've collected and used over time. Secondly is my interest in history, and more specifically military history. I find these to be very useful and interesting. Either getting the maps that were used, or looking at the maps that were used by the leaders and generals of the time period is interesting, and gives you a perspective of what they were facing and what tools they had to use at the time, but also learning about what happened, and that's one reason why I kind of like the American Battlefield Trust maps, because it kind of shows how some of the maps show how the battle developed over time, and you can see exactly where everybody was at and how they were moving and the like. And so I do like that aspect as well, of not only learning about the history, but also augmenting the playing war games. Sometimes I'll pull one of these if I'm playing a certain scenario or game that I have a atlas or maps that are connected to it. Then I might pull them out definitely before and sometimes even after, and kind of see how things should have went, or how they actually went, and what did I do different, or what did whoever I'm playing against did differently. So enough of that. So this book, as I said, I've touched on in other episodes, but I thought I'd do a coffee with Kilroy with it, so you get a little bit better understanding. So this is more than just an atlas, because this is a military history, an atlas. So this kind of is a nice resource if you're wanting to get it's not necessarily a high level. It's a decent. It's a little bit closer in than just a 50,000 foot view, but it gives you a little bit of the military history of the Napoleonic Wars, but it's told mostly through maps. So that's something I really like there. I cannot remember why I picked this up, but I've had this for years. But it's a big book, mainly because it's kind of in this landscape format. So it's long, and it doesn't really fit on the shelf all that well. So I kind of put it off in a special place where I kind of put my atlases, which are normally landscape and a little bit flat, long and flat. So they kind of fit together there. So this is all the introduction. You've got quite a bit of introduction here. Then you've got over here, let me move my coffee out of the way so we can see some of this stuff here. And I'll go up a little bit more. So you've got a chronology of events here. And you've got the content. So you're going to have the Italian campaign, the campaign in Egypt, Marinego campaign, Ulm Austerlitz, Jena, Eylau Friedland, Spain, 1809, Russian campaign, Leipzig campaign. This is what I used in my Leipzig videos. The campaign in France and the Waterloo campaign. So, you know, not every single aspect of the Napoleonic Wars, but it hits the high points, right? You've got some basic symbols here, you know, showing you actual location and prior location. So you actually see kind of movement on the map. So it's not just 2D in some respects. You get a little bit of the 3D nature of where things are going. Then you're going to get a narrative on, like this is the Italian campaign, so this is going to start the early wars of the Revolution, 1792 to 1794. So it's going to give you some context. You got like an overview map here, and then you're going to get into a little bit more detail. So here's the Italian campaigns, and I'm not going to go through every map, but I just thought you get a feel for how this book works. There's narrative, and then there's maps. Sometimes there's maps on, I think there's maps on both pages and some pages, but there's usually some narrative or context, and then you get the map itself. So, which is unlike, you know, a lot of atlases is very little narrative. There might be some context, but it's usually a series of maps with just a little bit of context to give you an introduction to what the maps or the series of maps are. This one has a little bit more narrative in its presentation of the maps. So, but you're getting several of the different battles here. Now we're into 1796. So I'll go a little bit closer in here so you can see some of the maps. So nicely done. I mean, they consistently use the red and blue, so that makes it they're not switching up colors. The maps are all consistent, so the presentation and everything is you know, if you're used to this going through this, then it's not you know, it's not confusing or unsettling or anything. They don't jumble stuff around. It's all basically, they stick to the rules that they made, which you need to do with maps, and there you have it. So this is breaking it down, this battle, into a little bit more bite-sized chunks, so you're getting a little bit closer in and seeing what's happening there. So anyway, so there's a lot on the Italian campaign. Then you've got the Egyptian, the campaign in Egypt and Syria. You know, not as many forces facing there, but let's get to something. Here's the Austerlitz campaign. So you have some naval operations here. So this is going to be Trafalgar. That's something. At some point there. All right. Here's the Ulm campaign. Go. You see the maps here. So I like these. I mean, as I said, you get a good dose of text, you know, setting up the context, and then you get a map that you can refer to as well. The only bad part of this, I mean, I like the landscape and the way it's presented for the maps, but it makes it hard to read on the other side of the book. I mean, it's just kind of bulky and unwieldy at times. To use this as a reading resource, you've got to sit at a table to read this. This is not something you can go sit in your chair and doze off to, because it will crush you. This is all the Ulm, then you get to the Austerlitz. So as you can see here, it does a very nice job of laying out where the forces started, and then, you know, some of their primary movements, and the narrative over on the other side kind of gives you the blow by blow of what's taking place. And this is a very famous setup, as we've seen. Anybody who's played an Austerlitz game probably familiar with how these forces lined up. You got the frozen lakes and stuff down here. The Pratzen Heights. And then you get the surrounding around the lakes there. So I like this book. Again, I don't know how long I've had it. Let's get some of these books here, or these maps here, are even more in set. So you really do get a better feel of some of the action that's taking place. And you can kind of see how it progresses too. Campaigns in Spain. Campaign 1809. So as I said, I don't want to do a page by page of this because this is a thick book. In fact, I mean, how many pages is it? It is got quite a bit of extra materials. So it looks like there are like 169 maps, 169 maps, I believe, in here. And I don't see page numbers, but it's a thick book. But 196 maps, or 169 maps, that's what I said. So let's get to, this is all 1809. Here's the Russian campaign. Here's Borodino. Wonder if there's more than one map of that. Yeah, here we go. So there was a setup for this whole. Anyway, and of course this is going to have the 100 days in here. There's Leipzig, and I've covered some of these. If you check out some of my Leipzig videos, you'll see some of these images or these maps. And the campaigns in France. And the Waterloo. Got to finish up with Waterloo here. So here's setting the stage. The Waterloo campaign. Blucher, Wellington. Of course, Napoleon coming up this direction. Catabara. So you got Ney here, going up the road. Lanay here. Then we have Waterloo. There you go, here's the battle itself. Anybody who's gamed this is probably familiar with that setup there. There you have it. So, just how it developed here, but this is what this is what this book is all about. Is these big, full-page landscape maps. Not just the only color you really see is the blue and red of the forces, and the rest is all black and white with some terrain, but generally just understanding roads and rivers on here. But there you have it. That is the military. Crinkled a page there. That is the of military history and Atlas of the Napoleonic Wars. Thought I'd share that with you today. If anybody has this, Love to know your thoughts on this, or your thoughts in general on atlases and maps and how you use them. I mean, this is predominantly a war game channel, so I think we all are used to looking at maps, if not, if at the very least, maps that have hexes on them or grids on them, because that's what we do as part of our hobby. So I always like going to other maps as well to see how things are portrayed and how they developed. And this one actually has quite a bit of history in it as well. It's not like the definitive military history, as you can see, but it's got 2 columns, a relatively good sized text, and a lot of content that goes with each of the maps over to the left, and then the map on the right. So there you have it. That's what I have for you today on Coffee with Kilroy. So thank you so much for stopping by. And the best way I know you stop by is leaving a comment. Let me know what you think about this atlas, other atlases, me covering atlases in general, or how you use them in war games. It's all fair game. Just keep it civil. Thanks all. Take care. Thanks for watching.